The new Sudanese military strongman, General Abdel Fattah Burhan, is well on course to cementing his hold on power after this week's coup, which swept away the civilian government. But the analysts are saying that this consolidation is coming at a great cost, what with the mounting public resistance to the coup and loss of international goodwill following the decision of the new leader to fire at least 6 Western ambassadors, including those of the US, the EU, and France. Well, joining us now to look at this new development, even as we continue to track the fluid situation in that country, is African Affairs Analyst Achike Chude. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Achike, this is not the best move for the general right now. It is quite tense. What do you make of the firing of these 6 diplomats?
Well, it's only going to ratchet up the pressure against the military dictatorship, obviously. And what you don't want to do at this particular point in time, especially when the balance of power is not in your favor, is to create, bigger problems or put a wedge between you and then Western backers. He will find himself between the devil and the deep blue sea. If he had the support of his people, just like we had, in the Guinean coup, it would have been a different thing. But you have opposition at home, you have opposition abroad. So where is he going to hide? It's going to be very, very difficult for him. And I'm sure he's beginning to feel the heat with all the coalitions, international coalitions that are being built against the coup that he had just undertaken with elements of the military. So he is, I would say, he's in the frying pan right now.
All right, talk to us, Achike. Of course, we know the World Bank has suspended its aid to Sudan after the coup on Monday. Talk to us. This is almost is it not putting more pressure on the state as it is right now?
Obviously, the state is under pressure, and of course, whenever you impose any kind of punitive action under this kind of circumstance, maybe economic in most cases, people have often argued that such measures eventually end up hurting the ordinary people. And so in a way, the international community has looked for ways to see whether sanctions can be imposed upon such dictatorships without, harming the people. But then, some of these things cannot be avoided. And of course, I think the annoyance of the international community is that it would appear that Sudan economically was beginning to come round the bend. And then much needed resources, foreign loans, that all this while they had not been able to access. Suddenly they began to make it available to the Sudanese government, only for this to happen. And then the government immediately announces that there will be no further help. And then, of course, United States has also put a stop to the monies that they were getting ready to give to Sudan. And of course, the African Union has also taken a stand against Sudan and suspended Sudan from the, African body. So it is a very, very difficult situation. Of course, they want to punish the regime, but you want to do it in such a way that would not inflict a further hardship on the people. But the people themselves, I think, from their reactions, you will realize that they have a nonsense, more or less attitude, to the regime, and that's why you see a lot of protests and activism against the action of the regime.
Is this enough pressure to put on the regime in order to backtrack and do the right thing? Because as we see, or has been said before, Sudan has been in a bit of a crisis for a few years. So they're a little bit used to living in conditions that are not, that are warlike, for a lack of a way to put it. So how long will it take for them to come to the table to address this situation before the humanitarian crisis spills over, as we also know that there is a huge inflation crisis even before the coup happened?
Yeah, well, nobody knows. That these situations can be very fluid. It depends on the kind of pressure that is put on the military, junta, both internationally and locally. And But of course, again, the situation in Sudan, you can see from the dynamics that are playing out, is quite different from what has happened in West Africa. The coup that took place in Niger, in Chad, and then other countries in Africa, where it would appear that there is a reward system for the coupists, because ultimately, when you're forming a government of national unity, it is the same people that have abrogated the constitution, the same members of the military junta end up being part of the transitional process. And perhaps the international community is beginning to learn a lesson that you cannot keep on rewarding the people who engage in this anti-democratic behavior by getting them involved again in the process of bringing back a democratic government. So I think the pressure is going to build up, and over time, if they can sustain it, if the people can sustain it, the Sudanese, for the next 2 months, and then the international community also continues with the saber rattling, I think it is just going to be a matter of time before, within the next 3 months, the junta will have no choice than to give up power, and then look for a way to hand power back to the transitional government that they replaced. I think that is the only way. The good thing is that the prime minister has insisted that he's not leaving the political space, and so it's going to be difficult for the junta. So I give maybe about 3 months if these pressures can continue.
All right, Achike, let's talk about the people right now and who are in the center of all this discourse. Because we heard rather that on Tuesday, the reports came out that soldiers actually killed 7 protesters. Are the protests waning, or are they being ramped up at the moment? How are the people reacting to this particular coup right now?
Well, it would appear that the military junta did not read the mood of the people of the Sudanese people, well. Do not forget that the Sudanese people have been under the yoke of a dictatorship for about 30 decades, for about 3 decades before Omar al-Bashir was eventually overthrown through a popular uprising by the people of Sudan. And so the people are becoming very good at agitation. They are becoming very good at insisting on the kind of government that they want. And I think that will constitute the Achilles heels of the military junta. The people, I do not think it is waning. They are organized. There you have the unions, the various unions, the doctors' unions, the professional union has been very strong all this while. And then the opposition on the streets, have been quite strong. So I expect that they will continue that process.
Just going to butt in here. We have run out of time. Thank you so much for helping us unpack the situation in Sudan.